There is something I want to add to the lectures where we worked with should component update. If you are having a class-based component, so a component created with the class keyword extending component, where you implement should component update, if you implement a check where you simply want to compare all props that matter to a component for difference, then there is an easier way of writing that component. Let me demonstrate this at the example of the persons component. There, I'm currently checking whether persons changed. Now, let's see which props we're using in persons. We're not just using person data, so we're not just using persons from our props. We also have the changed function which we trigger and the clicked function. Now, these are functions, not data we output, yet if such a function reference would change, if we somehow get a new function reference from outside, then this component will need to know about that and it should update appropriately. Therefore, you could argue that we want to update this if check here to check whether persons is different or if next props changed is different to this props changed, referring to that changed function, or if next props clicked, so with that I mean this property here, is different to our current clicked value, so if it's not equal to this props clicked. So I now added these new two if checks, and if any of them basically returns true, so if something changed here, then we will continue with the update. If neither persons nor changed nor clicked were changed, we return false and we don't continue. Now with that, if I save that, if I toggle my persons here and I then remove the cockpit, you see that in our persons we still stop at should component update because nothing changed about that. If I type here, however, we do continue with the update. So that works as before. Now, if you have such a scenario where you check all the props of a given component for changes, which is not that uncommon, of course, because typically you want to make sure that no props of this component changed, and you're not just interested in one or two of the properties you're getting. So if you're checking all properties, then you can also not use should component update, and therefore I'll comment this out, but instead extend a different type of component. You can extend a pure component. So you can then simply extend pure component here. And what pure component does is it works just as before. I can type here and you see the person's update lifecycle runs. But if I remove the cockpit, we don't execute any code from persons. Not even should component update because I commented that out, but also no other lifecycle hook. Because pure component in the end is just a normal component that already implements should component update with a complete props check. So that checks for any changes in any prop of that component. So if that is what you need, you can also just use pure component instead of manually implementing this should component update check. The result will be the same. So you can do either of these, but of course you can save some code if you use pure component.